Hey everyone, my name is Steven and welcome back to Storytime. Without wasting time, let's get into our first story of the day. You have Saturday detention for being late to school all week and you better be on time next week. Okay, I'll just bring my child. Two-part malicious compliance. This was over 20 years ago, so some of the details and dialogue may be a little fuzzy, as the years have not been kind. This is a two-part malicious compliance, so it is long. Enjoy! Cast: assistant principal, principal, teacher, an old walrus, mama, me, teen dad. Backstory: I was a teen dad when I started high school. As such, mama told me that I had to be home to take care of my son on the weekends. She did say that during the week that if I could not find a babysitter for him, then she would watch him while I was at school for the cost of extra chores. But I had to try to find a babysitter first, because she was not going to raise any grandchildren. If I can make the baby, then I can raise the baby. So I did the best I could, by asking at church on Sunday if one of the ladies would be willing to watch my son during the week while I was at school. But there was some days the sitter I had lined up canceled last minute, leaving me no choice but ask mama to help me out, causing me to be late to school and costing me more chores. For the first 3 months, I dealt with in-school suspension, lunch detention, and the paddle on a number of occasions. And each time I tried to explain, the explanation fell on deaf ears. This time was going to be different. Story: I woke up every morning at 4:30 and did my chores, got ready for school, and got my son ready to go to the sitters. I went to the sitters with my son about 7:30, only to be told that my son could not stay for that day for some reason or another. That went on every day since day one. So I drove all the way back home to ask mama if she could watch my son for the day. It took 15 minutes one way, so 30 minutes round trip. Mama, can you watch son for me? Why are you not at school? Did you take him to the sitters? Yes, ma'am. But she said she had an appointment in state capital, and she could not watch him today. Please, mama, I'm already late. Okay, OP, I'll do it, but you are doing dishes tonight. I gave baby to mama and drove the 20 minutes to school. Every day, the sitter had a different excuse, and it wound up costing me some extra chores to pay mama for watching the baby. First night, dishes. Second night, laundry. Third night, cooking supper. Fourth night, more dishes. Fifth night, cooking supper. By the time I got to school, it was almost 9 and first period was almost over. I go into the office to get my pass to go to class. Monday to Thursday, nothing happened. I got my pass and went to class. I gave the pass to the teacher and accepted the scolding from the teacher. Friday morning, however, when I went into the office to get the pass, principal called me into his office. I walked in his office. Principal, assistant principal, and teacher are in there waiting for me. The principal says, "OP, please have a seat." I do, and he continues. "OP, teacher tells me that you have been late to class all week. You know that all students must be here at or before 8 o'clock. We've had this discussion before, have we not? Now, do you care to explain why you are late every day?" Yes, sir, we have had this discussion before. And every time we have, I have told you every time that I have a hard time getting a sitter, assistant principal interrupting me. That is no excuse. What does you needing a sitter for your siblings have to do with you being late every day? Then the teacher says, "Yeah, I am tired of hearing that excuse. Now, you be in my class Monday morning on time or you will be sorry." Do I make myself clear? Then he walks out before I could answer him. Assistant principal says, "Well, I'm waiting," tapping her foot. "You better answer me now, young man." "Well, ma'am, I don't need a sitter for my siblings. I need a sitter for my son. Had you not interrupted me, I would have told you that." Assistant principal was mad that I had the nerve to talk to her like that. However, principal spoke up before assistant principal could get her words out. "OP, watch how you speak to assistant principal. Or do you need to have another talk with the paddle? I think since you want to be late all week, then lie about it and speak so rudely to assistant principal, you can have Saturday detention for the next 4 weeks. You will not be late, you will not make excuses, and you will apologize to assistant principal for your rude behavior. Do I make myself clear?" Yes, sir, I understand. To assistant principal, "Assistant principal, I'm sorry for being rude and disrespectful." Good. Be here at 7:45 in the morning. 1 minute late and you will have to deal with the truancy officer. Am I clear? Good. Now get out of my office and get to class. I got up and left. I started to hatch a plan to show them how unreasonable they were being and that I was not lying about having a child. So when I got home, I told Mama what happened in my whole plan. After taking the punishment for getting in trouble at school, she laughed and told me to be more careful and not raise the hornet's nest too badly. The Malicious Compliance Part 1. Since I had to spend all day Saturday and Sunday with my son, well, you can see where this is going. I packed my son's diaper bag with everything he would need for 5 hours, grabbed my bag that I put together the night before, loaded up in the car, then had my brother drop us off at the school at 7:30. Detention started at 8 o'clock. I told my brother the plan on the way and we had a good laugh all the way there. Since my son and I were 15 minutes early, we sat on the bench outside of the front door of the school. We really didn't have to wait long. 10 minutes, assistant and principal came walking up carrying their Dunkin' Donut coffee. They saw my son and I, then principal said, "OP, I said 7:45. What are you doing here early? And why do you have your baby brother here? No children allowed. Take him home and get back here by 8 o'clock now." "Sir, you did say that I have to be here by 7:45. I didn't want to be late for detention for being late, so I got here at 7:30. He is not my brother, he is my son." I pulled out the unofficial copy of his birth certificate with father's name section highlighted and showed him. "See, sir, it says right here, father's name, OP. It takes 20 minutes to get home, 5 minutes to drop him off, 60 minutes to explain to Mama why he is not with me, 20 minutes to get back, and on top of that, I would have to wait 30 minutes for my brother to come get me, so I can take him home. So all in all, 2 hours 15 minutes round trip to comply with your orders. It is 7:40 now, sir. By the time I do all of that, it will be 9:55. So no, sir, I cannot follow that order, as I would be 1 hour 55 minutes late getting back. Sorry, sir." Principal was mad that I had the nerve to talk back to authority. He stomped off and unlocked the doors of the school. Assistant principal said, "We will be calling Mama to come get the child. Don't think you can get away with this sort of behavior." We go in, they call Mama and told her how rude and disrespectful I was being and that she needed to come get my son. To which Mama told them, "Relayed to me by Mama after I got home." Really? That sounds like a you problem. It also sounds to me like you are the ones that are being rude and disrespectful. That is OP's child. It is his time to spend with his son. If you don't like that OP brought his son with him, then maybe believe him when he tells you something. Don't bother me again over some BS because you get your feelings hurt. Grow a spine and grow up. That was that. They didn't bother me or my son for the rest of detention time. I brought my son with me for the whole 4 Saturday detentions. After that, I never received another Saturday detention. The Malicious Compliance Part 2. Teacher had told me the Friday before the first Saturday detention that I had better be on time for his class that next Monday. So, step 2 of my plan activated. I called all of my other teachers Sunday and told them what I was going to do for the rest of the term. It was about 8 weeks before Christmas break. They were on board with it, but told me that if my son started to disrupt class, then they would have to ask me to abandon the malicious compliance. I agreed, and the next morning, I also told the lady at church who kept leaving me stranded without a sitter I would no longer be asking or paying for her as a babysitter. She was mad, but I didn't care. I did the normal stuff. Woke at 4:30, did my chores, ate breakfast, got ready for school, got my son ready, with enough things for 10 hours, as I figured I would have ASD after school detention. Got in the car, and instead of going to the sitters, went to school. I was on time, 7:40. I go in the office with my son, who was asleep, and got him a visitor's pass. The receptionist laughed when I told her why I needed a visitor's pass instead of a tardy slip. I took the pass and go to first period, physical science, the class that I was always late for. I walk in, take my seat, and wait for first bell. Of course, all the girls and some of the guys in the class are going gaga over my son. Even some of the snobby girls are talking to me. First bell rings, 8 o'clock. Teacher walks in and starts taking attendance. Gets to my name. OP? Well, I guess he doesn't care about my class again. That's it, I'm done with this tardiness. Class, I'll be back. Before he can get out the door, "Present, sir." Well, you decided to be on time after all. So, what's your excuse this time? Why have you decided today of all days to grace us with you being on time? Well, sir, if you care to remember Friday in principal's office, that you wanted me here on time, no excuses. Then you left before I could acknowledge your order, sir. So, sir, I am here on time as you ordered with my son, since you did not believe me when I said I could not find a babysitter, sir." His face turned blood red. He was mad because of my answer. He continued to take attendance, then turned to me and started barking something. All I could make out was, "Office, how dare you, call, baby, and detention." All his yelling woke up my son, who started crying. I stood up, got my things and son, and said, "Sir, look what you went and done. You woke up the baby. I hope you are happy now, sir." Then I went into the hall, but not before hearing all my classmates agreeing with me. After I got my son calmed down, teacher came out in the hall with a calmer tone. "OP, please explain why you brought your brother with you to my class. I told you that I wanted you on time, not your whole dang family." "Sir, he is not my brother, he is my son. Shows copy of birth certificate. The sitter has not helped me at all. That is the reason I'm always late. By the time I turn around and convince Mama to help me with them, I'm late for your class. But please, sir, if you want to give me detention or any other punishment, that's fine and I will take it. But please, sir, do not shout or cuss. It's not good for you, it's not good for us. And more importantly, it's not good for my son, who will be joining us for the rest of the term."
"What?"
Through gritted teeth.
"Office, no."
So I, my son, and teacher make our way to principal's office. Teacher goes in and tells principal something. Principal comes out, sees me, and sighs.
"OP, come in. Leave your child there."
"Yes, sir, I'll come in, but no, sir, I will not leave my son unattended." I go in, pushing my son's stroller.
"OP, teacher said that while you were on time that you were being disrespectful and insubordinate. Not to mention that you think it is okay for a child to come to school. What, for the rest of the term? You, young man, are about to learn a lesson that children do not belong in school and that you cannot get away with disrespecting authority or rules. Now, what do you have to say for yourself?"
"Sir, if children do not belong in school, then why in the heck are we forced to come? I have no other choice but to bring my son with me. I don't have a babysitter. Mama won't help me out. Remember, she said she would, but only in extreme cases and for me doing more chores, and I've ran out of options. Now, if you are going to punish me for something, then I think it best to wait until my attorney gets here to make sure that the punishment fits the charges and is a fair carry of justice. Or you can proceed and have a lawsuit and lose your position with the Board of Education. Your choice, sir. I know my rights as a citizen of country." Teacher was shocked.
Principal, after much thought, "OP, let's not get attorneys involved. Let's go back to where you said that you have no choice but to bring him with you. Do you care to expand on that? Why does he not live with his mother and her family?"
"Yes, sir. The reason I have no choice but bring him with me is because the babysitter I hired is useless. Mama is too busy and I can't afford to pay her to watch him. The reason he doesn't live with his mom or her family is because she and her family gave up their rights and claim of him. Her family said that they don't want an idiot in their family, and she is in state women's facility for assault and attempted murder. So, you see, there is no other choice." Teacher says, "OP, if that's true about his mother, then why is he not in the care of Child Protection Services? Why do you have custody?" "Because, sir, the same reason why I have an attorney on retainer. If you have any further questions about the matter, you can contact my attorney." Teacher was silent after that. After a really long discussion, I went on about my day. The other teachers were okay with my son being in their class. I contacted my attorney when I got home from school. He contacted the Board of Education and got them to agree that my son could indeed attend classes with me until I either found a babysitter or finished the term due to my situation. I ended up changing schools before we went back after New Year's. I did find a wonderful babysitter who was available when I needed her for a really great rate. Also, I ended up having to retake physical science as I had failed at the first school, but ended up passing the class with an 87B. People think it is hard to be an adult, married, and have a child. I only wish I could have complained about that. That is easy compared to my experience in high school. Note, when I say I drove to school, I had my learner's permit. My brother, 20 at the time, was the one who was teaching me how to drive for a fee. I didn't trust my son to just anyone, so I would be late to school despite the fact I knew the penalty for doing so. There was consequences at home for me getting in trouble at school. My learner's permit was taken when I got Saturday detention. Waking up at 4:30 to do chores before going to school, we lived on a dairy farm. Why go inside to call Mama? This was back before everyone had a mobile phone. Paddle, WTF? It was in a school district that paddled students up to graduation with parents' permission. It was not uncommon to hear of seniors getting paddled one day before graduation, but only if the offense called for the paddle. My next go around with physical science class was after lunch, so I had plenty of time to be there. I found out from a friend at the old school that principal and assistant principal were fired for having personal relations with each other in principal's office during school hours, which explains a lot. Teacher retired at the end of the school year. Good riddance, you old walrus. Oh geez, there's so many moving parts here to handle. A good question for you guys is probably how would you handle these situations, and what do you think the best idea would have been if you were in OP's shoes here? Let me know in the comments below. How to turn collateral duties to your advantage. This story takes place when I was a lowly ensign fresh out of the Naval Academy aboard a US Navy surface combatant. Before I get into the story, I'd like you to please excuse my English, as I'm a product of the American education experiment. So back to the story. I was one of 3 newly minted ensigns, and because I went to 4 extra weeks of training between graduating and arriving at the command, I was somehow considered junior. This gave me the title of JORG, or Junior Officer Requiring Guidance, basically an excuse to get hazed a bit, and to do odd jobs that needed doing. When I got to the ship, our XO, Executive Officer, Second in Command, number 1 for those who watch Star Trek The Next Generation, was kind of a jerk. Over time, he softened a bit, and I'd like to think I did my small part in it. But early on, a couple months into arrival, he decided that I wasn't busy enough running my 2 divisions, standing watch, recruiting and training the VBSS team, and trying to work through my surface warfare qualifications. In the wardroom, area of the ship where officers hang out and eat, there was a corkboard that was empty and ugly. The executive officer suggested that it would be nice if I could fill it with something useful. I took this on advisement and put it on the back of my already long list of tasks that I would get done at some point in the next 2 years. About a month later, the executive officer called me into his stateroom and asked about the status of the board. That my status as JORG made it my responsibility. I responded that I thought that doing something on the board was just a suggestion. He very curtly said, "You should consider a suggestion from a superior officer to be an order." My first inclination was to recommend that if a senior officer wanted to issue an order, they should use the appropriate language to make it an order, rather than relying on others to have magically deciphered orders from suggestions. Instead, my response was, "Yes, sir." But my new internal monologue was, "Roger that, sir," as sarcastically as possible. Here is where the malicious compliance comes in. Knowing that the executive officer was a fellow academy grad and still having many friends as underclassmen at our alma mater, I hatched a plan. I asked a buddy who was now a firstie senior if he could have one of his plebes, freshmen, do a bit of a research project for me. I let him know the name of my executive officer and an approximate graduation date. The assigned plebe, being the industrious type as plebes usually are, was able to find the lucky bags, yearbooks, from the years that my executive officer was at the academy. In these books, he was able to find several somewhat embarrassing photos and wonderful quotes. One was even of him in costume. In any case, these are the types of pictures that would be considered light r/blunder years. So I accomplished my assigned tasking. I made a poster devoted to the executive officer and his time at the Naval Academy, with blown-up pictures and embarrassing quotes. It was an instant hit with the rest of the officers, including the captain. I have to say, between utterly embarrassing his executive officer and the other OP literally bringing his child in for school, it's hard to decide which one of these two are my favorite today. Which one of these 2 stories are your guys' favorites? Let me know in the comments below. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for watching and listening to the Storytime channel. If you haven't yet, please consider subscribing, and don't forget to let me know which one of these 2 stories were your favorite. But again, thank you all for watching and listening to the Storytime channel.